Hi, everyone, and welcome to the You Have the Power To podcast. My name is Melinda Van Fleet, and I'm a certified next level life and business coach, mentor, Ahai 7D practitioner, business consultant, owner of Good Karma Sport Fishing with my husband Ryan, freelance writer, speaker, and best-selling author. I see people for who they are, where they are, and help them with where they wish to go. The You Have the Power To podcast is a thought-provoking and transparent weekly podcast that delves into relationships with yourself and others in business and life. My intention is to help you up-level your mindset, confidence, mental health, wealth, money, spirituality, and success. Because you know what? We all have the power to. Thanks in advance for listening. Now, hi everyone, and welcome to episode 12 of You Have the Power To podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm going to talk about a really big topic today, one that I have struggled with in the past, and I'm going to say I'm not perfect with. I'm truly not perfect with. It pops up here and there, and I have to remind myself. And I hope that people share this podcast. That's the intention I put out there, because I do believe there's a lot of people struggling. And I'm going to talk about the power to surrender in reference to love, in reference to being single. So if you're someone out there that is single, this podcast is sent to you with love, with every part of my soul, because I know that Valentine's Day is on Tuesday. And for a lot of people, it's a very triggering holiday. And I just want to record this podcast with all of the intention of love and sending you love on this holiday and every day of the year, right? We know these holidays for the most part, not all holidays, but for the most part, a lot of holidays are created for, Hallmark or whatever. So let's keep that in mind too, right? Let's just keep that in mind. So how this all started with me wanting to talk about the power of surrender to love. And this also, it encompasses your life. So that's why I put the title In Love and Life. Is Ryan and I moved December 1st, let's say. And prior to moving, I had a one-on-one coaching client, and she's amazing. And we would talk once in a while, just ad hoc, about horoscopes and astrology. And we both had the same point of view on horoscopes and astrology. And that is that we believe that there's relevancy to your match in terms of your partner. So for example, I'm an Aries and Ryan's a Sagittarius, but weren't really into like day-to-day horoscopes that you might find like in a magazine or online, or like a monthly horoscope, that's just kind of generic. So we would kind of laugh about that a little bit. So what ended up happening was when we were moving, I found a book that I had really forgotten about. And the book I have had since probably like 1989, 1990, because actually that's the copyright, is 1989. And it's tattered and yellow, and the cover is torn. And the name of the book is called Personal Relationships, and the author is Richard N. Beam, and the subtitle is A Complete Astrological Guide. So way back when, in my 20s and 30s, I was obsessed with finding a husband. I was obsessed. I felt like the last one to get married. And I was like, why can't I find a husband? Why can't I? Why can't I find a serious boyfriend, for goodness sakes? And it was horrible. I truly, truly struggled with it. It consumed me. And so I had this book, and every time I would meet a guy, every time I would ask him when his birthday was, and I would go to this book and I would study, and I would be like, oh my gosh, is this him? Is it him? Like, what does this book say? Does this book say we're a perfect match? What does this book say? Because the book has a matchup of your sign with the other person, and then it does the vice versa. It does that sign with your sign. So it's kind of interesting how the book is. And I was obsessed. Like, literally, this book was with me all the time. Every time I meet someone, like, this book was just like my quote-unquote Bible, right? And I was obsessed. And I don't think I mentioned it in my first book, Confidence Mastery for Couples, which is it's kind of funny. I truly forgot about the book, which is the point of this podcast. And then all of a sudden, in my 30s, after I had an extremely toxic relationship, which I fully detail in my second book, Life and Love Lessons, and both of my books are on Amazon. They're on paperback, Kindle or ebook, whatever you want to say. And then they're also on Audible. So if you're an Audible person, both of my books I recorded professionally in Miami. And so they're both on Audible. But that relationship is detailed out in Life and Love Lessons. But in my first book, Confidence Mastery for Couples, I share my journey about finding my husband, Ryan. So that book is really meant for singles, let's say, because it's a lot of my stories of surrendering and getting past myself and learning about myself. So in that story of really finding Ryan and surrendering, I really chucked this book. I forgot about this book. I surrendered. I put it away. I put it in a plastic bin. That's where I found it when we moved. It was in a plastic bin with like old like DVDs. Like I have like In Excess concert. Actually, that's on VHS. It's VHS tapes in that bin. I'm now thinking about what else was in that bin. The bin had like VHS tapes, Dave Chappelle tapes, like really old stuff that I listened to like way back when, that now I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I listened to all that. So this book was in there and it just brought me down this whole trip of memory lane and how I always follow breadcrumbs. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Kelly and I were talking about this. And then Valentine's Day is coming and I found this book. And then I kind of want to start talking about my books again because the stories are just so important to share. They don't ever die. When you write a book, they don't ever die. It's always out there. You can always talk about your books. And I just really had this whole like vision of really sharing with people that I surrendered. And what ended up happening was I was so burned from the toxic relationship that I literally said to the universe, I don't care anymore if I find somebody. I'm okay with being an amazing aunt, because at the same time that I ended that toxic relationship, my sister and her first husband, Jason, who is in heaven, if you know me, you know that, they announced that they were pregnant with my niece, Sienna. And I was so excited. Hearing that information was like, it still brings tears to my eyes, was such a big shift for me because I was just so excited that my sister was pregnant and I was going to have a niece. And it was at that time that I literally was like, I don't care if I find somebody. I don't. I'm just going to be an awesome aunt. And I completely surrendered. Then about, like a month and a half later, and this is going to seem very contradictory, so bear with me. My friend at the time, Kathy, we were really good friends in Minneapolis. She and I were having some beers, some Stella beers in memory of my brother at her house. And we were like, hey, let's put our profiles up online. So I went on Match.com, and I think either she went on Match.com first, but she ended up going to eHarmony. And we just laughed and drank beer and put our profiles up on the internet and helped each other, just kind of helped each other write the verbiage. And honestly, the energy around it was not like we're obsessed with finding a husband. It was just fun energy, fun, goofy. We were drinking beer. We were just drinking beer. It's cold in Minnesota in the fall and the winter. And so we were just hanging out in her cute house. And shortly after that, I would say probably I met Ryan around his birthday, which is December 14th. So I think our first date actually was the 16th. So yeah, a month and a half after that is when I met Ryan. And that was it. The deal was done. So there is so much to be said for surrendering. Yes, there's a lot to be said for trust, but honestly, at that time, for me, it wasn't about trust. It was more of I don't care. I'm over it. I'm just going to have fun and be excited about my niece. So I shifted my focus from worrying about finding someone to focusing on being excited about my niece. And then, yes, we still took action. That's what's so funny about the whole thing, right? We still took action, but the action wasn't from a place of desperation. The action was from a place of just freaking having fun and drinking some beers. And so if you think about like the law of attraction and all the things that people talk about, they talk about surrender, they talk about trust, they talk about all these things. Well, if you don't have the context around it, like, well, what does that mean? Like, what does that really look like, right? It can be confusing. And unfortunately, that's what happens on social media, right? Is people are posting these posts. I'm one of those people. Yep. Raise my hand high. People post these posts and you're like, and some of the posts are like half the truth and, whatever. And, it's just like, okay, that's just not the full story. Right. And you don't really have the context or the example around like, how did this really work for this person? And how can I embody and infuse that into my life to have something magical happen for me too? So it's really important to kind of understand these stories and then not overthink them, right? So you kind of want to go, okay, I hear Melinda's story. I'm obsessing about my business growing. What can I do? Okay, I can surrender and let it go. And yeah, trust, put some trust in there too. Like trust wasn't part of my equation, but I believe in trust. Put some trust in there too if you want. And then just do the work, like shift your focus, think about something else. Think about, I don't know, how you want to start working out more, right? It's not that you're trying to be a fitness instructor, but you want to start working out more. So put your focus in your mind, your brain, your actual brain on thinking about working out more and still do the work about your business and you'll collapse time. It's like crazy. It is crazy. This is the science. This is the math. This is how it works. I just gave you like thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in programs and coaching in one podcast. If you really, really do this, this is how it works. But the trick is training your brain to do that. That is the biggest trick, to stop listening to other people, to stop the distractions, to really just do that and stay the course and see the magic happen. But unfortunately, we get distracted by also their bullshit that's out there. So anyhow, but yeah, so I hope you like this story. I hope you like that. It's real. This is what happened to me. This is how I met my husband. Like crazy as it is, this is truly what happened. And I still have to laugh about this book. And actually, I'll probably open it up and see if it means anything horoscope-wise for Ryan and I. We're both fire signs. I'm an Aries, and he's a Sagittarius. So I've always just knew that we had that in common, but I didn't ever like read like all the verbiage about it. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do like a story or something. But anyhow, so please share this podcast. I also want to refer back to a podcast from the Good Karma Success Coach that is really awesome. It's with my very good friend and fellow author. I'm just reading it. It's from October. It's episode 218 of the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. I'll put the link in the show notes. It's Marry Yourself First with Nicole Russo de Souza. And she is an excellent friend of mine. Again, fellow author. We met when we were in a writing coaching community together, and we were each other's like editors, quote unquote, to help each other along the process. Not full editors, but like we helped each other in the process in this community. And it was great. I love her so much. And I had the opportunity to meet her in 2021. Yes, in 2021. So I'm giving a big shout out to my friend Nicole. So, and check out her book too. So my books are on Amazon. Her book, Marry Yourself First, is on Amazon. So if you're someone out there that is single and is looking for a little inspiration around Valentine's Day or any day of the year, I got you. I'm sending you love. I'm sending you blessings. And if anyone out there is interested in one-on-one coaching or any of my other programs, please reach out to me, melinda@melindavanfleet.com. Until next week, thank you so much for listening. And just remember, you have the power too.